8. The Adriatic Sea bombers. Located in the Mediterranean, somewhere between Italy and Croatia, the Adriatic Sea is the burial ground for 5 B-24 Liberator bombers that were lost during World War II. Over half a century later, in 2002, it was reported that the missing U.S. bomber planes were finally located in the Adriatic Sea. The B-24 Liberator was a heavy bomber that could hold a max crew of about 10 men. The bombers could also reach impressive speeds of 297 miles per hour, 478 kilometers per hour, and were equipped to hold up to 5,000 pounds, 2,268 kilograms of bombs. These were the most mass-produced heavy bombers for the war, and they played a crucial role in taking out German targets. But the B-24 is often referred to as the flying coffin, since it only has a singular entry point towards the rear section of the plane. This was the only exit available in case of an emergency, and crews claimed it was practically impossible to escape a B-24 in difficult situations. The missing bombers discovered in the Adriatic Sea were more than likely stationed at a base in Foggia, Italy, before their untimely demise. There also isn't much information available about the mission the crew was on when they disappeared. A research team from the University of Delaware and the Pentagon worked together to locate the missing planes. Joining the mission was also a group of researchers and divers from Croatia. Unmanned vehicles were sent underwater to explore 24 square miles, or 62 square kilometers, in the Adriatic for the wreckage. 3 of the B-24 bombers were found after a couple weeks of searching through the waters. The research team was lucky enough to find the plane numbers on the side of the wreckage. This was important since they could use the number to trace the plane to the soldiers who flew them. The 5 planes had a total of 23 men on board when they vanished. All of these men had been listed as missing in action for over 80 years. This find is incredible news for any surviving family members of the soldiers. They finally have the answers they've been searching for. A mission leader involved in the Adriatic Sea search was also the co-founder of Project Recover. This is an organization dedicated to finding and repatriating the 80,000 missing U.S. servicemen that have been listed as MIA dating back to World War II. The discovery of the B-24 Liberator bombers was the biggest find made by Project Recover. With this success, they're continuing their mission and are working on multiple projects around the globe. Groups like Project Recover work hard to solve mysteries regarding missing planes, ships, and soldiers, and we salute their hard work. 7. The Whale Graveyard. It was 2022 when a Swedish underwater photographer named Alex Dawson made an incredible discovery. It allowed him to take a once-in-a-lifetime picture. So, what did he find? Dawson stumbled upon a whale graveyard. He and a scuba companion explored an area called the Skinning Grounds, right off the coast of Greenland. At one time, Inuit hunters in Greenland hunted the minke whale to survive. These whales can grow as long as 35 feet or 10.6 meters and weigh around 20,000 pounds, 9,100 kilograms. The Inuit people skinned the whales down to their bones, which were then taken by the water during high tide. The bones in this image were about 15 to 20 feet under the water's surface. Dawson had to put his safety to the test in order to snap his picture. He spent over an hour under ice that was roughly 3 feet, 1 meter thick. To get to that spot, he had to maneuver himself through an extremely narrow hole in the ice. He and his companion found the remains of about 20 whales. Dawson was surprised to see the whale bones at that depth. Many whale graveyards are found at a depth of 5,000 feet, 1,500 meters. This discovery is incredibly fascinating, but undoubtedly creepy. 6. The Golden Egg. A mysterious specimen that resembled a golden egg was found deep in the waters of the Pacific Ocean near Alaska. It was located when ocean researchers were using remotely operated underwater vehicles. The item was eventually retrieved and brought back up to the surface. At this point, researchers noticed the golden egg-like specimen was 4 inches, 10 centimeters in diameter, and had a slight tear at the bottom. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, later released a statement about the item. They said, "While we were able to collect the golden orb and bring it onto the ship, we still are not able to identify it beyond the fact that it is biological in origin. They also noted that their scientists were still theorizing what it could possibly be. They added that guesses ranged from a dead sponge attachment to coral to an egg casing. At the time this video was released, the item has yet to be identified. A spokesperson for the NOAA said, "New species have the potential to reveal new sources for medical therapies and vaccines, food, energy, and other societal benefits and knowledge. The specimen and the information they were able to gather about it is very important. Discoveries like this are common, and it will take some time for researchers and scientists to study their findings and deliver detailed reports. Whatever they were able to uncover is absolutely amazing." 5. Wreck of the Hontun. In October 1923, the Hontun, a steel bulk freighter, sank in Lake Superior near Whitefish Point. That's a spot near the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and Ontario, Canada. It was October 2023, 100 years later, when it was reported that the shipwreck was located in an 800-foot, 244-meter hole at the floor of Lake Superior. So what happened to the ship? On October 11, 1923, the Hontun and its crew of 17 were traveling on Lake Superior. The ship measured under 240 feet, 73 meters in length, and was not loaded with any cargo. The crew was having a difficult time navigating the waters thanks to poor visibility. Fog was also an issue, but something else made the visibility awful. There was smoke from nearby fires which carried across the lake. Also on Lake Superior at this time was the 416-foot, 127-meter-long Cetus. It was reported that the Hontun and the Cetus were traveling at excessive speeds. This resulted in the two ships crashing, which did considerable damage to the Hontun. A hole was ripped open on the Hontun, and the situation grew dire for the crew as the ship started to sink. The Cetus crew quickly sprung into action and lent a hand. All 17 members of the Hontun's crew were placed on the Cetus. At some point, someone noticed that an important member of the crew was missing. It was the ship's bulldog. After realizing this, one man from the Hontun jumped off the Cetus to board the sinking ship and find the bulldog. Thankfully, the dog was rescued. It took the Hontun just 18 minutes to fully sink. The ship was eventually found when a local historical society searched the lake for the wreck. What's amazing about this discovery is that it was just 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers, from where the star of our next story, the Edmund Fitzgerald, sank in 1975. What's your favorite ocean or lake to visit? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. 4. The Edmund Fitzgerald. One of the most infamous shipwrecks in Great Lakes history was the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald on November 10, 1975. 29 men's lives were taken as the ship sank into the frigid and unforgiving waters of Lake Superior. The incident happened somewhere northwest of Whitefish Point, Michigan during a horrific storm. The sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald actually inspired a popular song by the Canadian singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot. The ship was commissioned by the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company and cost about $8 million to build. It was named after Edmund Fitzgerald, Northwestern Mutual Life's president. In June 1958, the Edmund Fitzgerald was christened in Detroit. It measured 729 feet, 222 meters, and was the largest ship on the Great Lakes for its time. Unfortunately, things didn't go well at launch. The boat rolled violently when it first hit the water. Spectators were actually almost hit by a giant wave, and one man even suffered a fatal heart attack. The Edmund Fitzgerald was a mighty ship for the Great Lakes. It was the biggest vessel to sail the waters until 1971. The ship's final mission took place on November 9, 1975, when it was scheduled to haul iron ore from Wisconsin to Zug Island near Detroit. While on its journey, weather conditions on Lake Superior quickly deteriorated. Gale warnings were issued, and the weather turned into a scary situation for the crew. Hurricane-force winds up to 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour, with waves reported as high as 35 feet, 10.6 meters, slammed into the mighty Edmund Fitzgerald. Another ship on Lake Superior, the Arthur M. Anderson, stayed in close contact with the Fitzgerald during the start of the storm, but lost connection around 7:10 on November 10th. A search of the lake found 2 lifeboats from the Fitzgerald, but no one inside them. A few pieces of debris were also found, leaving rescue crews with a puzzling mystery. Sadly, the Fitzgerald sank 535 feet, or 163 meters below the lake's surface. A U.S. Navy vessel was sent to the area to investigate the wreckage in May 1976. They were able to take a video and snap a few images of the sunken ship. 3. Plastic at the bottom of the ocean. Victor Vesco holds an impressive record. In 2019, Vesco piloted a submarine over 35,000 feet to the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. His record dive was 36 feet, 10.9 meters, more than what the famous Titanic director James Cameron achieved in 2012. Victor Vescovo served in the U.S. Navy and had a great career as an investor. He's only one of 70 people that have completed a challenge known as the Explorer's Grand Slam. To earn their title, one must scale the highest mountain peaks on all 7 continents. This is not an easy task, but Vescovo did it, even making a trip to the Arctic and Antarctic. Vescovo has also made dives in manned submarines in all 5 oceans. These trips have been to some of the deepest parts of the seas. His record dive was incredibly dangerous due to the darkness and pressure at that depth. When one dives to 35,849 feet, or 10.9 kilometers, the pressure is equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets placed directly on top of your body. Thank goodness Vescovo had a vessel to withstand the pressure. While the dive was a success, Vescovo was upset after discovering a plastic bag and candy wrappers at the bottom of the ocean. Although it was a great accomplishment, the discovery of the trash was heartbreaking. Currently, there's a massive garbage patch floating in the Pacific. It's about double the size of Texas and a major environmental issue. The giant waste pile is known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and has been collecting in the Pacific between Hawaii and California. 2. The November 1914 ships. On November 18, 1914, 3 ships were traveling along Lake Superior. The steamship C.F. Curtis was towing 2 schooner barges named the Selden E. Marvin and Annie M. Peterson. If you're unfamiliar with the area, November is an unforgiving time on Lake Superior, and it was especially nasty on November 18, 1914, thanks to snow and high winds. Conditions were terrible, but the ships were determined to finish their trip. At some point, all 3 ships sank, and the 28 men on board were never seen again. Although the ships went down, they weren't forgotten. At some point, the Great Lakes Historical Society decided to look for the C.F. Curtis, the Sheldon E. Marvin, and the Annie M. Peterson. The Great Lakes Historical Society wanted to figure out what happened back in 1914, so the surviving family members of the crew could have some sort of closure. The work is difficult, but the Historical Society is up to the task. In 2021, the C.F. Curtis steamship was finally located. A year later, the Marvin was found. The Peterson is the last of the 3 ships, and there are no updates at this time if it's been discovered. 1. The Key West Hospital and Cemetery. In May 2023, divers near Key West, Florida found a cemetery and the remains of a 19th century quarantine hospital that was once part of Fort Jefferson. Construction of Fort Jefferson started in 1846. Fort Jefferson was used as a place vessels traveling either the Straits of Florida or the Gulf of Mexico could dock to receive much-needed repairs or to load up on supplies. Another great feature of Fort Jefferson was that it was a nice place for those ships to seek refuge from harsh storms. Other services provided by the fort included a naval coaling outpost, lighthouse station, naval hospital, and a quarantine facility. During the Civil War, Fort Jefferson was used to house prisoners, but it was shut down as a fort in 1873. But the fort was put to use again in 1890. Before it sank into the ocean, the hospital treated patients with yellow fever from 1890 to 1900. Yellow fever is a disease spread by mosquitoes. Those infected typically experience aches, headaches, and vomiting. If not properly treated, yellow fever can lead to death. Over time, the hospital settled and eroded thanks to a variety of environmental factors. At the time this video was made, only one grave in the cemetery has been identified. It was for a civilian named John Greer, who passed away while serving as a laborer at the fort in 1861. Others buried at the cemetery are believed to be U.S. soldiers, but researchers are still trying to piece together exactly who was buried at Fort Jefferson. Are there any unusual discoveries you'd like us to make a future video about? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.